Hello and good morning, friends. Today I want to talk to you about a certain scenario that popped up, and I think it's an interesting idea to have a conversation about it. And the reason why is this happens quite a bit. So the scenario is you're buying a home. The house was previously under contract and they had it tested, and for whatever reason that previous purchaser or the seller, that contract fell apart, and now you are the one buying this house. And the question is, should you get everything retested? And let's get into it. So this situation happens quite a bit, and basically you'll see this on older homes or maybe a house that's not quite in good repair. Sometimes you'll even see it on brand new construction, but houses fall out of contract all the time. And usually it'll be for a couple different reasons. One, it'll be either you don't have enough money for it, like you lost your job, you get denied for the loan, the appraisal doesn't come back, or you got your inspections that don't work, right? So usually that's one way that you're going to lose that contract. And whenever you're under contract, it's always a good idea to make sure you get your house inspected. But people will get, the water tested, the home inspection done. If you have septic, you're going to do septic. If you got a sewer line, you'll do a sewer line, chimney, termite, all that good stuff. Now, a lot of places you'll have sellers do all of that stuff first. And I usually advise people to be careful. And the reason why is things change, right? Now, if you ever purchased a home, you'll know that most of these inspection companies or home inspectors, they'll basically put some kind of disclaimer like, hey, things can change, yada, yada, yada. And the reason they do that is because things do change, and they change quite a bit. So in this particular circumstance, what happened was the property, I was there about 6-7 months ago. Everything was working just fine. Water was doing what it was supposed to do, came back clean, water test, all that good stuff. Whatever reason, that property fell out of contract. Now, it's been quite a while, so it might have been something else beyond what I looked at. But we get called back out to take a look today. And, the water pressure is dramatically lower than what it was previously. The color of the water's wrong. So much has changed in just 6-7 months. So we start investigating a little bit further because, that's kind of weird. Usually wells and septic systems, they don't just overnight decide to stop working unless it's the pump. The pump always picks the worst time to do that. But for this particular example, once we get looking at the wellhead, we come to find out, oh shoot, the pitless adapter's leaking and it's shooting water all over the place. So that is why we're having an issue with our water pressure. So it's only been a few months. The seller's confused as to how that happens, and obviously, things can break, pipes do burst. They don't just pick a good time to happen. It'll just occur. With this pitless adapter that's leaking, it's real simple. Basically, all you do is pull it up and you just fix that part, little knuckle part that kind of sits in the slot. Easy enough to fix. Usually, it's just the little gasket itself is not working, because when you look inside, it looks like that's where it's coming out of. But it's a problem. It's a leak. It's got an issue that needs to be corrected. And this is just a prime example that things can change. So in this particular example, it's going to be for the well line itself with the pitless, but it could have also been bacteria. I have seen it so many times where you do a bacteria test in, let's just say, January, perfectly fine. You come back out a few months later, especially spring. Usually it seems to be spring's always the time when bacteria shows up in wells. I think it's because everything starts to grow, and if you have a defect in your well cap or in the surrounding area or the grouting or the casing, stuff can just get into the well. But besides the point, I've seen it where you can do one test, passes for bacteria, you test a little while later, and now all of a sudden it doesn't pass for bacteria. Super easy, you just chlorinate the well, and if that's not working, then you put an ultraviolet light in, and that usually will solve the problem. But besides the point, that's why the EPA also recommends to test your water annually. So that way things like that do change, you can get ahead of and actually correct whenever it happens. So where I'm going with this is, I think that as a buyer, it's a really, really good idea to make sure that even if a seller did the inspection or a previous purchaser did the inspection, you are going to want to make sure you hire your own contractors, your own people, and have them give it a once over, right? The purpose of this is so that way you get a different set of eyes to look at that property, because the first guy may have missed something, right? I see it all the time where I am the second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion, depending on what the situation is. And you look at the reports and all but one are the same. And it's that one guy is the first guy. Almost always is how it ends up going. So when this happens, now you get stuck in a pickle, right? But as a buyer, it is way better to be stuck in that pickle than it is to just accept whatever the previous inspection was, especially if it was half a year to a year ago, and just hope that everything's working. On my house, we moved in, right? Buy the home, we had the inspection, did all the good stuff. Well, literally within 3 weeks, the water heater starts going bad. Well, that sucks. It looked perfectly fine during the home inspection, which it did and does happen. But, you know, it decided to stop playing nice, and so you got to change it out. It's one of the big things with home ownership is that things do change, problems do come up. You just need to budget some money aside for when that does happen. So if you're looking at purchasing a home, if you're thinking about purchasing a home, even if you're selling a house, get another inspection, have another opinion, have somebody else look at it, see what's going on. If you're selling the home and somebody comes back with a defect, if it's not like a super easy, like, oh yeah, I can see that kind of defect, get a second opinion. Worth every penny, right? Maybe the first guy was wrong. Who knows? But if you're a buyer, you want to do this so we don't end up getting some kind of nightmare situation that nobody knew was happening or knew what was going on. So I hope that you enjoyed this quick little video. If you got any value out of this, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.